On the Domino's post-game report, Adam Cavalier alongside Carson Newman head men's basketball coach Chuck Benson. Chuck, a frustrating one. Season low for points, season low for field goal percentage, and a season low for points in the paint. What happened today that got Carson Newman out of sorts?
I think I need you to turn me up a little bit. I think everything that could go wrong went wrong. I'm really surprised at our lack of poise as a program from the get-go. Really, to say I'm disappointed, I can't think of there's not a strong enough word for me to use to say how disappointed I really am in our veterans. You know, 'cause I'm really quick to praise them, but I'm not one of these old school guys that does it like some people do. If they don't come to compete, then they're going to get called out. And we had guys today that did not come to compete. When you have 17 offensive rebounds to a team, 17, then that tells me that you weren't ready for the fight. And so I'm really, really, to be honest with you, some of our veteran guys, some of our most veteran guys, really disappointed in the guys that showed up today for this game. And now they're going to live with the consequences.
Was it an effort thing? Was
Yes.
it all effort? Or was there some execution?
Well, there was no execution because we were so unpoised. I mean, here it is, Kev. There's the old play sheet, okay? There it is. There's the play sheet. They couldn't run anything we called. And it starts with Charles Clark. Let's put it out there. It starts with our point guard. And if our point guard can't get us into offense, then we got a problem. And for whatever reason, for the first time in his career here tonight, he couldn't get us into offense initially. And it was a snowball effect. It was tough to score. We talked about poise. Our number one key was to maintain poise in the face of the style of this fight. And he didn't, and we didn't. And then instead of flipping it and then going down there and making it difficult on the defensive end for them, we gave half-hearted commitment. Because, you saw it. 17 offensive rebounds to a bunch of 6'2", relentless competitors. And our 6'5" cool guys just got exposed.
Where do you go from here then?
Well, I think some guys have got to look at themselves. Period. They got to look at themselves and take responsibility for understanding when you come into a game and you're an undefeated team, as we preached for the last 3 days, and you're ranked, then you have to come into this thing knowing that they're going to throw their best punch at you. And our guys, for whatever reason, didn't appear to let that be a motivator. They didn't appear to let that be a motivator. And that's what's so disappointing because, I don't know anything else we could have said or done in preparation to really make an issue of this. And that's just so disappointing because this credit goes to Newberry because they outworked us. They out-efforted us. And that's where the credit belongs to them for that.
You kind of touched on it. Did you feel like this team had fat cat syndrome a little bit today? As in
well, in hindsight being 2020, they had some kind of syndrome. Maybe it was fat cat. But I mean, if you're just a Generals fan watching this and you saw the performance, a performance worthy of the win by one team and a performance unworthy of anything but continued losses by the other, I mean, what would you say? I go back to that 17 offensive rebounds. Mm-hmm. 17 offensive rebounds. That's the thing that I keep going back to. Because that right there, I mean, they 26, a third of their points came from our turnovers, 18 of them, and their offensive rebounds. And those are things that we typically have in veteran players that have been in these kind of games. You don't expect that one.
You turn your attention now to the Anderson Trojans. What is there to do between now and then to wash the taste out of this one from your mouth? We're
not going to wash the taste out. That's not what the goal is. I'm going to make them really relive this for the next 3 days. And then when we get to Anderson, we'll either respond to the lesson or we won't. We will or we won't. But this is not – it ain't time to try to get this one out. We need to roll around in this a little bit and make sure that they clearly understand what's acceptable and unacceptable. We talk about standards a lot. This was on no level up to the standards that we've established.
What was the ultimate turning point? You had a 1-point halftime lead. You were up by 10 in the first half, and then Newberry rattles off a little 17-1 run. What happened that made that happen?
A lack of poise. I mean, it was twofold. A lack of leadership on the court by players, not executing anything with any intent, and then on the flip of it, offensive rebound, lack of contain, more or less an issue of execution, both an offensive and a defensive plan.
Chuck, pleasure as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Cav.
That is Carson Newman head men's basketball coach Chuck Benson.